Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today. We're really happy to see such a great turnout. My name is Scott Jorgens from GP Support North and Endeavour Solutions. Today's topic is talking about the future of GP, specifically survey results from our friends at ActivReporter. Before I get too much further, I want to reconfirm Dynamics GP has a strong roadmap to 2028 and beyond. Microsoft is planning to do some sort of announcement. We are asking them to extend the roadmap to 2030 and beyond. We will see what they do, but for now we're good till 2028 and beyond. And this does align with the rest of the Microsoft products that they've announced everything out to 2028, and it's just a matter of time before they update their announcements. As you know, we love Dynamics GP, and our GP Support North team is here to support you now and into the future. Today's agenda, talking about the survey and ActivReporter, and we have guests on the line. They're going to talk about the key findings, opinions of those that responded to the survey. Then we'll talk about what's next and how Endeavour can continue to support you and look at other avenues if you do want to consider the cloud. And at the end, we're going to do a great demo, a short demo of ActivReporter, which some of our GP clients are using as an alternative to Management Reporter. And again, just helping you to get more out of your systems and support you in your efforts. So with that said, here's the future of Dynamics GP survey results. This is the second annual survey that Accountingware, the makers of ActivReporter, have issued, and they sent it out to over 500 of their clients and around for sort of public consumption. And 149 respondents provided basically these details that we're going to share today. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself? And I'll let you take over from here.
Sure. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm Sarah Brewster. I work for Accountingware, and I've been working almost exclusively on ActivReporter for the whole 6 years that ActivReporter's been going. So yeah, ActivReporter, like Scott said, is a GP reporting software, and as such, we were really interested to see what GP users were thinking and feeling about the future of GP. Like Scott has said, we all know that Microsoft is committed out through 2028 and beyond. So we wanted to just kind of see that reflected through the GP users. So what we did was we put this survey out there for anyone to take, but we filtered out all the responses from ISVs, partners, things like that. So these are results from 149 actual GP users, your peer group. So when we look at who actually responded, we're talking about people that were 43%, like you can see here, have 100 to 500 employees in their company. The users between them have an average of about 15 years using GP. So these are people that are GP users inside and out. And the vast majority of respondents came from the United States. You can tell that is probably because we sent it a lot to our own partners and users and ones that we're more familiar with, and we as a US-based company have that sort of bias, so you are going to see that in the data. But you can see there we still did get a majority of respondents from the US. We asked them about what they want to do with their future, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. So comparing this year's results to last year's results, you can see that there are more folks that reported in 2024 that they're starting to look at different options, but you can see that the majority of respondents still are planning to stick with GP for the foreseeable future. 54% are just, they're not looking to leave GP, which makes sense. There's about 30% that have started internal discussions. So they've started having conversations, not necessarily that they're going to leave GP, but they're talking about it internally to make sure that they are going to make the best decisions for themselves and their customers as well. And then there are 7% that do have plans to move to GP. Plans to move to BC. I thought it was quite interesting that 2023, 9% were considering moving to BC. That's gone down to 7%. And then, of course,
they already moved, or they had those discussions and then decided to stay?
Yeah, that's my guess. So let's see. We've also talked about timelines. So we said that 54% in 2024 are not really looking to leave GP, but there is sort of a maybe answer. So most people are looking for no changes. That has gone down from 2023 to 2024. And then there's a big jump from 2023 to 2024 in the number of folks that are starting to move, that are wanting to start to move between 1 to 2 years. And then a large group, it looked like in 2023, were planning on moving away from GP in that year, but that number has dropped to about 5% this year that are planning on moving to GP. So my guess is a lot of people decided to move off GP right away, and that trend is now slowing down. People have decided to either stay or move, and they're not really making changes in this year, but you can see that number goes back up for 3 to 5 years. So people are thinking long term.
And we found much similar in our client base. It's been about 10% of our clients are showing interest. Endeavour's actively moved some of our clients to Business Central, but the vast majority want to stay on GP, gather the facts, and understand what their choices are in the next 3 to 5 years.
Absolutely. And what we're going to talk about with this slide, it's not a choice to make lightly. It's a big investment either way. And you've got to choose what is going to work for you. So you can see right here why most GP users have decided to stay on GP. It works. GP meets their current needs. It does what they need it to do. A lot of folks have decided to stay because it's too expensive to migrate. They don't see that the investment that it would take to migrate is going to bring them a return on that investment, that they might spend tons of money moving, but they might not get too much out of it. But, that's not everyone. You have to figure out what's right for you. Some other decision criteria that ranked pretty highly is that GP is highly customized. A lot of folks have really customized their setups. They've got a lot of ISVs that they're relying on. They're not available in BC, or there's things like payroll that are not necessarily in BC. So in general, it seems like the biggest thing is that GP does what they need it to do. And I think that's a testament to the product for sure.
Yeah, and I definitely see, if we think back to the first slide, that there's a lot of people that are 15 plus years working with the same application. And that's a lot of tinkering, a lot of modification, optimization over that time. And it's hard to just sort of give that up and move to something new.
Absolutely. I think a lot of us may have experienced migrating from Windows 10 to Windows 11 recently, and remembering all those things that you had to set up that you didn't even remember setting up 5 years ago or however long it's been. It's an investment. It's an emotional journey as well. So here's some other decision criteria. So this is something that you do want to think about, is how difficult it's going to be migrating to another ERP solution off of GP. So like we saw in the last slide, most folks find that GP does what they need it to do. We also saw that some folks found it, the idea difficult, like all those customizations that we talked about. This is what people perceive that difficulty level to be. So for the most part, you can see that a lot of folks are over 60% believe that this would be a somewhat difficult to very difficult migration. And that doesn't mean it's not worth it, but it could be a difficult thing. And a lot of people expect it to be. There's only 2% that expect it to be a very straightforward migration. And there's a lot of uncertainty. That 18% of don't know is what really hits me. That's where you need to find out. Contact your partner. We've got Scott right here. And find out what the right answer for you is. Because that don't know, you should know. You can find out.
that really tees me up to our next sort of call to action, which is building a business case. So Endeavour, step one, do your own research. We have a variety of options to help you conduct some of your own research. Attending today's session is one of those inputs. Step two is we have a talented team of consultants that know and love GP and also have awareness and know and love Business Central and can talk to you about the differences, the pros and cons. And we've been actively providing assessments for our customers. We have some funding from Microsoft to pay for these assessments, and for some others, I'm actually paying out of my marketing budget to pay for some assessments and really help you gauge the facts, gauge the complexity. What is the effort? What are the ISVs that you have? How do they map? How do the functions map to new core functions that you previously needed an ISV for? And others where you may want to bring new ISVs or the same ISVs, and those are the add-on products, independent software vendors. We can ultimately help you build a business case to stay, and that same business case can also be used as a business case to change. It's really bringing in those facts. So self-support, gpsupportnorth.com is our GP site where everything says we love Dynamics GP, and it is true. And this is where we have recordings for our GP training sessions and webinars, talk about a variety of additional add-on products that you may want and different ideas for inspiration. Right on the homepage is this white paper, 6 tips for digital transformation while staying on GP. Our consultants wrote this white paper really to be the anti-cloud. Here's all the promises of the cloud, and we're going to talk to each of these promises of how you can transform your business and get more of your systems while staying on Dynamics GP. No gate on this, just click and download. It's a free PDF for you to review yourself and share with your team. Not to be undone, also on the Endeavour site, if you click on the GP to Business Central icon on the front page, we have 10 tips or 10 proof points for why moving from GP to Business Central. Look for this green white paper, and it does talk about some of the value of considering cloud applications and specifically Business Central as an alternative to Dynamics GP. It's on the EndeavourSolutions.com or .ca. Sites are both the same, and again, self-service to help you. And the next steps beyond that is reaching out to our team, and we can help do some of these assessments for you. Now, Sarah, let me transfer over to you to be presenter, and we can have a little bit more of a brief intro to ActivReporter and then into the demo. I think people want to be able to see that. Then we'll come into the final wrap-up and talk about how to get in touch with our team for your GP assessment. I can see your screen. And let's turn off our cameras to improve the real estate.
Absolutely. Okay, so everyone should be able to see my screen at this point, but not my face. That's the way I like it. So this is ActivReporter is what we're looking at right here. Before I jump into the demo, I just want to kind of briefly mention along the lines of what Scott was saying. If you do decide GP is where you want to stay for whatever length of time, there are tons of tools out there that are continuing to focus on GP and working with people that use GP. ActivReporter is one of those tools that can allow you to take advantage of some of the new things out there in technology without having to move off of GP. So it lets you kind of extend the use of GP. This is an actively developed tool. We release new versions about every 4 weeks. So you're going to see new things and better things all the time. So let's talk about what ActivReporter is. First and foremost, it is a financial reporting tool. And I'm going to start by showing you some, that's the big one. I meant to start over here. I'm going to show you some of the reports that you can create using ActivReporter. So these were all created with ActivReporter. ActivReporter is an Excel-based financial report writer. We design and create and publish in and to Excel. So this was created in ActivReporter inside of Excel, and the final result is also here in Excel. So we've got a balance sheet, income statement with an actual budget versus variance. Here's an income statement by month. You can do some fun things since we are in Excel where I have the different branches across the top here, and I've got my time going down the vertical axis so that I'm able to see each branch for the same month on the same row. A cash flow statement, indirect. Here's an income statement trailing back for the last 4 years. So I'm using an older version of Fabricam here, you can tell, 2017. ActivReporter can also do multi-company, where I have a Fabricam and my cleverly named Gabricam company, separate GP company databases displayed on the same Excel statement. And then another company, University, where we use a segment of the chart of accounts to split between 2 different portions of the same company. So you can do multi-company if you've got separate company databases, and you can do multi-company if it's all contained within one database, but designated different by a chart of account segment. So this also works for those that are using binary stream multi-entity management. You can report on your separate companies in this way. And of course, consolidate them. And here's my fun little boardroom example. Because we are in Excel, because the design is done in Excel, and because the results go to Excel, you have everything Excel can do at your disposal to make your financial designs look the way you want them to do. Or in this case, I've created a dashboard. So you can publish this out to a static point in time where nothing is going to change, but you can also keep this in a live state where I can go in and change the period. I'm going to change it to something drastically different so we can see all the pretty colors move. I can change the date, in this case going back to 2015, hit OK, it'll recalculate, and you'll notice that my graphs and my ratios here, they all updated along with all of these numbers. They all updated to show my new date that I'm looking at. So these are live. They are connected to GP. It has a parallel database that's going to sit on the same SQL server as GP. Let's see. So aside from being live, we've got this big chunk of number here, right? And you want to know what's in that number. So ActivReporter allows you to drill down directly to the transaction detail that makes up that number. So I'm drilling down here. Here's my drill down view. And let me make this, I think I can make this a little bigger. Yeah, there you can see it a little better. I drilled down directly into all of the individual debits and credits that make up the number that I originally wanted to drill into. So from here, let's say I'm going to pick something not on the balance sheet. Let's go look at something, how about salaries on the income statement. So I'm drilling down into my salaries number here. And what I want to show you is how even if you don't have a GP user license, you can get all of this data. So you don't need to be a GP user to have access to the drill down information in ActivReporter. You can even double click on a debit or credit and get more information about that particular debit or credit. Hit a journal entry button, and this allows you to see the entire journal entry in context. So here's the original debit that we drilled into on my salaries and wages, and here's the rest of the journal entry that that one debit or credit came from. All of this without a GP user license. Now, since I do have a GP user license, I want to show you what you can do if you do have one. So backing up, I come in and I drill down on my detail. And then from here, I pick my detail that I'm interested in. And you can either right-click and go to drill back up here, or you can use this button up here, or you can see your keyboard shortcut over there to open up my journal entry inquiry screen in GP. So here is that same journal entry. There's my debit that I drilled into. The same journal entry in GP, where now you've got access to things like your notes and attachments, or you can go back to the source document and check what is going on in your GP subsidiary. So whether you have GP or not, this is a great tool for financial research. Let's see. Let's talk about how you would build something like this. I want to show you how easy it is to go from nothing to something like this. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this to get it out of my way. Now, if you are using GP, it's quite likely you are still using FRX or Management Reporter. So what I'd like to show you is how ActivReporter can work with Management Reporter. So here's a typical row definition in Management Reporter. Right, this is an income statement, row definition. In ActivReporter, we're going to leave all of the formatting and the totaling, all that good stuff. We're going to leave that to Excel. We're not going to reinvent the wheel because Excel already does it way better than we could invent. So what we're interested in is the hard work that goes into these row definitions, these link to financial dimensions, where you have the accounts assigned. All of this work here. That is what we can bring over to ActivReporter and start over with in Excel. So I'm going to show you that process real quick. In ActivReporter here, let's see, we're going to use Fabricam. In ActivReporter, I can go down to my setup section and go to what we call roll-ups. Roll-ups are ActivReporter's version of row definitions. Now, out of the box, before you do anything, in ActivReporter, you are going to have access to these roll-ups that are all built off of information that's on the account card in GP. So let's see. If I go and I look at my cash account, for instance, in ActivReporter, and I actually, let me switch companies here back to my Fabricam company so that I can drill back. There we go. So I can actually open the account card for this if I have GP by hitting my account card drill back. There it is. So we bring information from the account over to ActivReporter. The category, for instance, we bring that over to a roll-up that we call GP category. You can see this one's in cash. We bring the posting type. There's a roll-up called GP posting type. So this is on the balance sheet item in the posting type roll, or sorry, roll-up. And we also use the combination of the posting type and the category to take our best guess at whether this category belongs in the balance sheet or the income statement, the profit and loss statement. So we say, okay, this is the posting type balance sheet and the category is cash, so that means that the cash category belongs on the balance sheet. So that's how we've automatically built GP balance sheet and GP income statement using that information. So right out of the box, you've actually got something that you can begin reporting with if you are consistently using your categories in a way that you want to report on. If you're not using your categories that way, don't worry, you can create your own in ActivReporter, or your partner, Scott, Endeavour, can help you get those categories fixed up in a way that you can report on. What's nice about this is that it lets you drive your reporting from right here in GP without having to get into ActivReporter, because this is automatically synced with ActivReporter. Okay, so I wanted to go through that right out of the box, but again, if we are coming from Management Reporter, we want to import our row definitions as roll-ups so we can start creating them. So we've actually got a process here that allows me to import my row definitions directly from ActivReporter. I'm going to run through this process real quick so you can see it. Here's my list of row definitions. I'm going to pick income statement right here, 5. And I'm going to put a 2 behind it because you can see I've already done this today. I'll hit OK. All right, and there it is. We've created a roll-up. I'm going to hit Finish. And here is the new roll-up that we have created. So I want to show you the comparison between ActivReporter's version and GP's version, or Management Reporter's version. So it is a pretty simple row definition, but it works as an example. Like I said, we're not interested in the formatting or any of the total amounts or anything like that. All ActivReporter is going to bring is the row code, the description, and link to financial dimensions. So you can see here we have the row code, the description, and if I double click on it, I have the link to financial dimensions information. Let me bring this to the side so you can see. It's fairly similar. There's some slight differences. This is what it looks like in Management Reporter, where you've got a column for each of your segments of your chart, along with the account category. In ActivReporter, we only list the segment that you use in the definition. So this particular row definition only used account, so we only brought over account. You can add the others if you need them, but for simplicity's sake, we only bring over the one that you're actually using at the time. And instead of one column that does a item, wildcard, or range, we split it up into 4 columns that are a little bit more explicit. So you've got item, mask, which is a wildcard. So I can do like that, for instance, say everything that starts with 4. And then begin and end as my range. So it's not exactly one-to-one, but it is very, very similar and allows us to do this import process. You'll notice we go straight to sales returns and then from there to cost of goods sold because we're skipping this bit and then we skip it down again to salary expense. Cool. So now that I have this in ActivReporter, I can go create a financial design with it. A design is an Excel workbook. So we're going to call this income statement demo, and I'll click workbook to create a new workbook in Excel. And since I left this open, it is blinking at me. That's fine. So this is a big departure for Management Reporter. Management Reporter is all about you create your rows, then you create your columns, then you join them together in a report definition, adding on a reporting tree if you need it. In ActivReporter, the row definition portion is quite similar, but that's about where the similarities end. Once we get the row definition, what we call a roll-up, then we jump directly into what you see is what you get type designing. And what I mean by that is exactly what you put in Excel is exactly what the final result will show. While you're designing, you're even going to get live data out of GP to see while you are designing. And it gives you like instant feedback. Am I creating this report the way I want to? You can instantly see if you are. So to do that, even though we don't have any data showing yet in our new report, it wants us to pick what period we want to show. So ActivReporter has what we call current period. It's similar to Management Reporter's base period. If you were to go in, let's see, and go to run a report, it asks you to pick your base period and base year. That's the same way that you're picking the current period, year, and period here. So I'm going to leave this at 2027 period 4. And I'm going to choose to include my unposted entries. I'll hit OK. All right. Now we are in Excel, and that's it. It's blank. There's nothing there. I'm going to go ahead and pin my ribbon. This is what ActivReporter adds to Excel, is an add-in that adds functions that pull data out of your database. So instead of needing to actually design this one by one, you could do that if you truly wanted to. Just do things like this, cell by cell. Really don't recommend it. You have a layout wizard that we provided that lets you get a real quick start. So let's say I want an actual versus budget. I'll click on that. Now these are just starting points. These are not where you have to end up. It's just a place to start. So I'm going to pick actual versus budget. Then it wants to know what I want to use as my financial items. What it means by that are rows. What list of items do I want to use as my rows? So here I'm going to choose income statement, my new roll-up, and hit OK. It gives me information on how many rows, helpful, and generates a template for us to start with. So notice that this matches our row definition. Let's get back to it. Here we go. This matches the row definition. So again, we've got sales, sales returns, cost of goods sold, salary expense, benefits, etc. This is the list of roll-up items. Now, this isn't a financial because I don't really have I don't have any subtotals. I don't have anything that's telling me what I'm looking at yet. My credits are coming through as negative. All I have is one big group total at the end. But now I'm in Excel, and I can make this do whatever I want. I'll label it revenue. I'll put a space in here just like I had in my management reporter version. I can even look at that as I'm building and make sure that I'm doing this the way that I want it to go. So sales, and then what did it say? Net sales. Okay, and then I can manipulate this just the way that you already know how to do, because I'm pretty sure most of you know how to use Excel pretty well already. You know how to make a cell bold to stand out. You know how to add things together. You can do a sum function to add them together. You know how to copy a formula across. You know how to make a negative number into a positive number. I didn't like that. There we go. Now this is Fabricam data, so actually a negative budget doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to leave it that way so it makes some sense. But the point is, this is not using tools that you don't already know how to use. You know how to design things in Excel. You know how to format. You know how to add things together. The hard part is these formulas. But what we've given you is this layout tool to help you get started, right? So different sorts of columns need different sorts of formulas. And that's what this layout does, is it gives you examples for you to copy and work off of. So let's say, for instance, I have right now a current period actual and a current period budget and a variance. Let's say I want to add on to that a previous year version of that. So I'm in Excel, so all I've got to do is copy my columns and paste them, and I'll modify my base period up here. So remember, this is just like base period. So this is like saying base -1. If you're familiar with Management Reporter, that'll sound familiar from your column definitions. It's very similar logic. The only thing that's different between my actual and budget columns is the letter A and the letter B. Look, I put an A in, it switches back to base ledger, and it's exactly the same. I'll put B back in so it stays budget. And it's very, very simple to begin understanding this logic. It's very simple to your Management Reporter or FRX logic combined with Excel logic. And it's also fun because Excel is just, I don't know. If you're like me, Excel is fun.
I love that, Sarah. Fun is the way to go.
Honestly, I mean, what I love about this is learning it. It let me leverage all the things that I've learned over years and years of working in offices and make it into reports. You know, whereas I did learn Management Reporter. I used to work as a GP accountant. I converted us from FRX to Management Reporter, and I loved Management Reporter, but I couldn't explain it to anyone else. It was hard. I knew how to use it, and I knew how it worked, but I didn't exactly know why. Excel is approachable, and it's something that you don't need to be afraid of. So anyway, that's kind of how the report building goes.
Great. Shall I take back over, or do you have a few more points?
Well, I've just got one more thing I kind of want to show you. You know, financial reporting is the big thing that it offers, but I wanted to kind of show you, there's some really cool tools in here as well as far as just data research. For instance, a list of every debit and credit that has ever hit your GL. You've got filters to let you filter between date ranges, account descriptions, maybe just to your financials. You can set up your own custom filters if you want to as well. And my favorite piece, other than designs, are financial views. These come built into the software where you have a live trial balance that you can scroll through of all of your accounts. You can double click into it, click on the number, and drill down into that debit or credit detail that makes up that amount. So what I'm hoping is this is interesting enough for you to want to look into it. This is by no means all of it. I've just scratched the surface, but I'm really grateful for Scott and Endeavour letting me come in here and show this to you today.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Yeah, it looks amazing, and you know, just for those on the line, well, actually, I think we'll keep this in the recording. We are a fan of ActivReporter, and it does make your life a little bit easier than Management Reporter. And how it works is extremely fast. And really what it does is when the team implements ActivReporter, it just clones or creates a little extra separate database beside your GP SQL server. So you don't need extra software. And it does its periodic updates between those two, you know, your production server running GP and the little extra SQL server beside it. So the reporting and those analytics are real quick, and that's how it can just pull in that information when you're designing. There are unlimited users, which is nice. And then we look at the implementation fees and the acquisition. So the acquisition, you're in the $2,000 range per year. And that's a big difference than a subscription at $20,000 or $10,000. $2,000 per year makes this very affordable and something that's easy and not too intimidating, especially since you can migrate your Management Reporter reports into ActivReporter. That, you know, a quick installation and training in $2,500 to $4,000, depending on how much training you need. Or some clients do have space limitations or additional, they have their database on a separate server than the GP production server, and there's a little bit of extra tweaking, but you know, all in, maximum $4,000 for an implementation, and then that $2,000 per year makes this very affordable, a nice easy way to have some quick wins and new tools to help you get more out of your GP system. So as we come towards the wrap-up, just for those that are new to Endeavour, we're now 35 years old, over 900 clients, 1,200 upgrades and implementations across Canada and across the U.S. Growing team coast to coast, so from all the way from Halifax to Vancouver and British Columbia, East Coast to Pacific time zone, and all points in between. Continuing to win awards, and as you can see, we have our 3 brands, Endeavour, GP Support North, and our purely CRM team, a very strong team using the Dynamics 365 CRM. Advisory services, implementations, and ongoing support, as you would expect from most consulting firms, unlike some others, we really believe strongly in our core values: integrity, trust, and accountability. Without all 3 of those, we really can't do a great job for you and help you get most out of your systems and help Microsoft business applications work for you and your needs. So, next steps, as we alluded to earlier, 2 points. One is do an assessment. Do a GP assessment, GP to Business Central, understand the complexities, understand the costs, understand the effort to help you make an informed decision on your path for Dynamics GP for the next number of years. If you like what you saw for ActivReporter, please reach out to us and we'll set up a deeper dive and demo. I've seen hour-long demos and much deeper dives. You can bring just about anything you want to the table, and Sarah and her peers are absolute wizards to show you how ActivReporter can really achieve what you need and take you to the next level. Endeavour did have our own client survey in addition to ActivReporter's client survey back in the fall. We're probably going to do another one this summer. Helps us keep a pulse on everyone's ideas and thoughts and comfort level with staying on GP versus looking at other applications and moving to the cloud with Business Central. So with that said, thank you very much, everyone, for your time. Have a wonderful day.